ceremony tonight. Thank you for coming. Nice to see so many champions, so many Hall of Famers, parents, and kids. It's really a delight to be here. Over 50 years ago, I'm only 51. It's not funny. Over 50 years ago, John Stahlberger and Mike Marshall created Hacky Sack. And you probably know the story, but for those of you who don't, they would make them out of denim bags, put cherry pits in them or rice, sew them up, and they would kick in the living room. And eventually they said, let's go hack the sack. And then they thought, well, we can trademark the word hacky sack. So we owe this energy in this room to Mike Marshall, who died at 26 years old, and John Stahlberger, who, when his friend passed on, he vowed to make hacky sack a sport and a name like Frisbee, and that was his goal. Well, several years later, a man by the name of Ted Huff, who we've lost a few years ago to cancer, was John's right-hand man. And Garwin Bruce, who was our original coach, even before Eve, which was in 1929. How old are you, Eve? Nice, good math. Ted came to John and Garwin and said, hey, I want to start a Hall of Fame. I want to make sure that we build our sport up to honor all the great champions and the people who organized the helped grow the sport. And speaking up, Quebec, your club did a great job. Let's have a big hand for the World Championships. And so Garwin and Johnny said, okay, Ted, whatever you want to do. Ted knew how to make money, knew how to promote the sport, very good at marketing, said, let's do a Hall of Fame. So in 1997, we held the World Footbag Championships in Portland, Oregon, and that was the first year of the Hall of Fame. So Ted and Johnny and Gar had a dream to have a night like this. If you are currently in the Footbag Hall of Fame, except for Gator, please stand up. And speaking of, we would really love to get a picture of all you Hall of Famers, hopefully as soon as we can after this ceremony, because it's an honor and a privilege to have you guys here. And we hope that we can figure out how many countries are represented in the Hall of Fame, which even Kenny Schultz did not know, and he knows everything. Hey Kenny, what year did we lose to Gator? Oh no, we don't want to talk about that. He's not even listening. I'm not telling him. I'm not putting him on a pedestal. So anyway, the Hall of Fame, we are very proud of the organization, very thankful for Johnny and Ted and Garwin and all the members. And so tonight we are inducting 2 new players, and I'd like to turn it over to Ken Schultz. Give him a hand, please.
So I'm gonna say a few words about our first inductee. But before I do that, I want to say just a couple words about our previous speaker, Mag Hughes. It's hard for me to put into words just the influence, the impact that Mag has had on my life personally and the sport of football. We were rivals, arch rivals, from almost the beginning of the sport. Mag won his first doubles world championship in 1981, and then won in 82, and 83, and 84. The first four-time consecutive winner in doubles footbag net. Me and my partner finally took him down in 1985, but then he got a new partner and beat me again in 1986. We teamed up in 1987 finally and founded the establishment. And I don't know if we came up with that name or somebody gave us that name, but it was fitting because the new team from Memphis had come up and they called themselves the Rebels. So you can't really have Rebels without an establishment. So we played the Rebels in 3 straight years in the finals, 88, 89, and 90. And to answer your question, Mag, Gator, and Ken Hammer beat us in 1989, but we won the other two. So anyway, I thought we need to have Mag Hughes back at the World Championships in Montreal. The re-establishment was back on the court today in Bachelor's doubles for first time in many years. So thank you, Mag, so much for coming and supporting us. And anyway, just a foundation of the sport. And speaking of foundation of sport, Mag mentioned Ted Huff, and we lost Ted a couple of years ago, and I wanted to read you a letter that my parents found in a stack of stuff recently. I hadn't seen this since I wrote it to my grandparents in September of 1979. So this goes back a while, but this is a really personal kind of story of what Ted meant to me and the sport and the kind of guy that he was. So it's short, but I wrote this to my grandparents. I said, I was on the muscular dystrophy telethon last week with Ted Huff. He presented the check for the money the National Hacky Sack Association raised at the Neighbor Fair tournament in July while I demonstrated. That tournament in July of 1979 is the first tournament I ever attended. It's the first time I met Ted Huff, and he saw this kid I entered. I was 12 years old. I paid $5 to get 5 tries to kick consecutive kicks, and he saw, man, we got to get that kid in front of people. This kid is the market, and we got to show these people that kids like this can do it. So Ted took me to things like this muscular dystrophy telethon. He had to pick me up in the middle of the night because we were on the show at 6 o'clock in the morning. And he did, and then I go on to say I went to the state fair last week with Ted Huff because the association was having a demonstration kind of thing there. And this is just one of like 50 weekends in a row probably where Ted Huff picked me up and took me somewhere to put Footbag in front of people. And I was the demonstrator, and Ted was the guy that did this on the microphone, telling people about the sport. And it's people like that we owe the sport to. Like, without that having happened, we would not be here. So I just want to, and Garwin as well, man, it's just like, I owe so much of what I've enjoyed in my life, the experience that I've had, and tournaments like this, and sharing it with the community, people like all of you. Like, we owe it to these guys, and let's just have a round of applause for Ted and Johnny and Gar, the founding fathers that made the sport. They were love. So I just wanted to share that. But today, we want to honor 2 elite players in the sport, and I'm going to start start with the first being Jim Penske. And I remember I met Jim the first time is in early 2000s is in Colorado, just before maybe Colorado Shred Symposium, which is an event that happened back in the early 2000s. And I haven't played freestyle in a long time, but I was playing at a very high level at that time. And first time I met him, I think he was maybe 17, and I was with Rick Reese and Penske and friend of Jim's, whose name I can't remember. But we played, and I remember thinking, this kid is better than me. And I was upset about that. I'm not as upset about it anymore. But at that time, it was quite it was kind of upsetting. A kid I'd never seen before, 17 years old, is already better than me. And so a couple of highlights of Jim's kind of amazingness is he holds the world record for consecutive guiltless contacts. That's 326. For those of you in the net world, don't know what that is. That's 326 tricks of at least 3 ads or more. And a little bit of history for you freestylers. When did guiltless start? So when in 1993, after the tournament at Worlds, Rippin just schooled us all at the Holodome at the Holiday Inn in Golden, Colorado. It was kind of embarrassing. He was so much better than everybody. So that next year, I started playing without using 2-ad tricks to try to lift my game. So that was kind of where guiltless started. But Jim, 326 guiltless tricks in a row and that's just it's insanity. But then it gets worse from there. 68 tripless tricks. So that's consecutive, 4-ad tricks or higher. And then the next one's even worse. 25 fearless. That's 5-ad tricks and higher. And he has and that's unique. 25 unique 5-ad tricks in a row, which is absurd. And then the next one is even worse than that, which is 10 beast contacts, unique beasts. That's 6-ad tricks in a row. 10 unique 6-ad tricks in a row. So he holds those all of those world records for trick combos. Some of the things he's most proud of: 11-time U.S. Open champion, the 2017 world champion for the request competition. And some thoughts from Jim on what he likes about Footbag, the camaraderie. It's a rare, unique sport, but takes tremendous athleticism, which keeps me in shape. I remember watching Jim and thinking, God, this guy could win the Tour de France. This guy probably has one of the highest max VO2s in athlete history. Like this is an absolutely elite athlete. One of the I think of him as like literally one of the greatest athletes walking the planet today. Just in terms of athletic capability, that he's just absolutely a physical specimen. We're lucky to have him in Footbag, and we're inducting him into the Footbag Hall of Fame tonight. Thank you. Now I'm going to hand it over to Tuan Vu to introduce our next inductee.
So on the topic of MAG, today is actually a very special day that Kenny and I like to call MAG Day. So today's MAG's Day. Just so happens that he's getting a little extra love today. So I'm here to talk about Taishi, and in researching some of his accomplishments, I was just overwhelmed by all the things that he's done already for the sport of footbag. So I'm going to just read you just a handful of some of his astonishing accomplishments. So first off, Taishi was born in the remote Iga-ryo village in the Mai prefecture of Japan and raised by ninjas. As a child, he learned to sharpen his ninja master's blades, which eventually helped him to sharpen his own blades for freestyle. He won the World Championships in both 2014 and 2018. He was a finalist in Japan's Got Talent. Thanks to Taishi's hard work, Footbag has started to be included in physical education classes and in elementary schools across Japan. He once got a double hack with Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston before the divorce. He once traveled all over Japan without returning to home until he got 1,000 people on the street to try a toe stall to spread the sport and awareness. In 2011, he quit his job and became a professional footbag player despite many people telling him it's impossible to make a living from footbag. Since then, he has been working to spread the gospel of footbag throughout Japan by participating in events, appearing in media, teaching footbag, and producing and selling footbags to make them easily accessible in Japan. And without further ado, I am proud and honored to introduce Taishi to the Footbag Hall of Fame. Taishi, do you want to say a few words?
Thank you. It's hot here. And I'm nervous a little bit. If I can speak English, no, I mean speak Japanese. It's easier, but it's tough to speak in English. But it's really honored for me. So thank you so much, everything. So yeah. He explained it already. Everything, right? It was quite tough. I mean, I quit the job in 2011 and I became a professional football player. I called by myself. It was really tough to find earn money and earn something and finding some events and I have to win the competition because the promotion of football in Japan, nobody knows about the football. Nobody about the football in Japan, right? No hacky sack culture and no football culture as well. So it was really tough, but I just tried it. So and I still. Still keep trying. I'm comfortable with still moving the body still, so I can move it until end of life, I think. I try it. Yeah? So just following me. Right? Okay. Okay, thank you so much, everything. Thank you.
Before you leave, Taishi, I got a couple of things for you. So I'd like to present Taishi with the Hall of Fame mug. With the new logo. The plaque. Taishi's the first to get the new logo for the Hall of Fame t-shirt. Thanks to Scott Hamilton. And he may or may not have actually got a double hack with Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston. So at this point, I'd like to call up all the Hall of Fame members for a picture. So if you stay here. And And while they're coming up, I'd like to say happy birthday to Hall of Famer Brenda Solanowski. And also happy birthday to Foot Clan's Jordan.
Oh, you did so awesome.